Well, hey folks, how's it all going? And oh yeah, back at the scroll saw here. I promised you that I would show some actual scroll sawing, and go back through some of the how the DeWalt works. And you can see, I've my first project here. I really got aggressive, folks, and that's 1.5 inch oak that I'm scrolling here. And it's I've had a little bit of a learning curve. You can see I got a little bit of burning there. I'm using the blades that I'm using are from Olson. Let's get those over here. So these are good scroll saw blades, but you got to remember, even though they don't, and I'm used to, it's been years since I've scroll sawed, so I'm used to the blade breaking before it gets dull. And in this 1.5 inch oak, I've had to change, as long as I'm changing blades about every 1.5 letters, and you can see over on this side, this is where I was changing about every 1.5 letters, and these are burn free, and I'll tell you what, the cut's really nice and smooth. So you just gotta, gotta take your time. So far the scroll saw is working really nice. I've had a little slippage with the blades, and I'm still working through that. Overall, it's been a really good runner, and the fact that it's cutting 1.5 inch oak and doing it pretty effortlessly is doing real good. Now I realize there are other blades on the market, and I'm still investigating those blades. These seem to work pretty good. I have yet to have one of these break. They go dull before they break. So one thing to remember on that is don't wait until they break until they change it. So we're going to finish doing some scrolling here today. This is actually for my grandson Baker, and there's going to actually be a little choo-choo train in front of it and a caboose behind it. I had laid it all out like that and ended up being too long for the 20 inches of the throat back here. So I'm going to do the choo-choo of the train, the engine separate, and the caboose separate. Then I'm actually going to make a base that I'm going to sit the whole thing in and screw it to it. I'm probably just going to paint the letters and then just leave everything else natural, maybe some oil, maybe some shellac on it. But I tell you what, why don't you, let's just do a little scroll sawing, and we can talk through how this DeWalt scroll saw works. All right, folks, I have been learning so much in the week since I got that DeWalt scroll saw, and there is so much good information out there, and I just can't say enough about this guy right here, Steve Good. You can see Scroll Saw Workshop blogspot.com. I believe on YouTube he's also under Steve Good, but this guy is he's awesome when it comes to scroll saw stuff. And if you're wondering where you got these patterns from, you can download patterns for free from his website. And you can make them a nice offer of send them something for doing that. I know I need to, but wow, what a great guy! A lot of good tips and hints, and I've got to implement some of them. I have picked up what's called the lifter, and this is and I got to do the install. Maybe I'll make a video when I do it from Papa's Workshop. And what this does is this helps hold up the arm of the scroll saw when you're not so much changing blades, but when you're going to do these internal cuts. Like that round hole there, that I'll drill. But like this hole right here, and then like on the caboose, you got to get into all 3 of those. And this just makes threading especially for an old guy like me with not the best of eyesight, threading the blade through just a heck of a lot easier. So papasworkshop.org, the lifter. Like I said, I'll be doing a video upcoming showing how that goes on. Another thing I've been learning here is that I've been using adhesive spray, and it works really nice. The only problem is when it comes to sanding it off, kind of a pain in the butt. So another tip that came from Steve Good was to use painter's tape first. Put your painter's tape down and then spray this and put your template on there, and it makes removing the whole thing a lot easier. Plus he said that the this tape actually provides some lubrication to the blade, makes it cut a little nicer. So we're going to try that today for the first time. But let's get this let's get this engine all cut up, mounted on this nice thick piece of oak, and get the scrolling. Right there, I've got the little engine on there. I've got my painter's tape on there. Now, I tried doing this once before. This is the very first piece I tried scrolling out, and I learned some real important lessons really quick. And I was trying to get fancy and trying to push the scroll saw, and then you can see I was making mistakes there, and that's unacceptable. So we got to start over here. Also, a couple things I learned was to really double check the squareness, especially when you're doing thicker material, is to double check the thickness not the thickness, but the square of the blade. And I need to pick up a better square, because right now I'm using one of these cheap ones, but it's good enough in my opinion. But you should check it, you know, especially when doing something thicker like this. You should check it often. This saw tells you, and you got to listen to this saw. It'll tell you how you're doing. It'll tell you when the blade is maybe loosening up a little bit, because you'll lose control and she'll start cutting a little bit strange. And I've had it happen to me a couple times. I stop and I loosen up this top and I retension, and I'm not really sure why. You know, you're always, the next thought is maybe I need to make this tighter. And there's actually Steve Good makes some tools to help loosen these up and tighten them up. But I don't know if that's the case, or if it's just because of the nature of what I'm cutting here that it's definitely going to loosen up. But so what I'm going to do here today is I'm just going to work on these wheels. I want to do the whole thing today, obviously, and more. But the key thing on this thing is the wheels, because they got to look just right. And tensioning of the blade, you can hear that right there. Sounds pretty good. The tensioning is right up there, right by your fingertips. And you know, in my opinion, the tighter the better. And we'll just start scrolling. All right, scrolling along here. These wheels are really important that I get them as close to being perfect as not. You can see I got a little burn there. That I had used that blade for a bunch of internal cuts, so that right there, and I could feel it, told me time to change the blade. So I changed the blade, and then you can see everything is perfect after that. But when you're cutting something as hard, and it's, you know, 1.5 inch thick oak, which is kind of pushing the limits for scroll saws, although someone's going to tell me they do a lot thicker, but it's still, in my opinion, it's you know, it's you're going the limits here, but you just gotta go slow. Well, and you're not going to go fast in hard material. Exciting to watch, isn't it? So at this point, if I was in any other type of thinner wood, I would take this corner right here. But since I'm in the thicker wood in that, I'm going to back out. I'm going to back out, and then I'll come in from the other side, cut this down, and then cut over and take that little piece out. It's just, you know, the nature of the wood that you're cutting, and anything like that. So we'll keep on going on. We'll give you a look-see maybe when we get to some of these internals. All right, so I got the engine all cut out. That has 2 blades. Turned out pretty nice. If you want to do any sanding, Olson makes these sanding strips that you put right in your scroll saw. You don't have to tension it up much. And it just, like I said, I just use it a little bit to round some of this off in here, and maybe knock some of the sharper corners off. But we're going to drill a hole for that one, and I won't do any scroll sawing on that. I'll drill that, and then drill the same hole in the middle and do this relief cut. Give you a look, see at changing the blade. All right, let's show changing the blade on this thing. Here's another tip that I learned from people online. You people are fantastic. Is to put your top blade in first. I don't know why I always put my bottom blade in, and it's so hard to line up. And you know, you want to make sure that your teeth are pointing down. This has the teeth on the bottom that point up, but teeth at the top that point down. Those go in pointing down. So we're just gonna tighten it up here, and of course, I gotta get it the right way here. I gotta get it in there like that, and that helps line up. And what I want to do here, folks, is hang on. I want to straighten this blade out a little bit. This blade tensioner, when you tighten a knob, it wants to kick it forward. So you always want to have your hand up there and try and keep it as true in the blade holder, straight up and down, but that's it. And then just tension it up and you're good to go. Now in this case, we're going to be going through the holes there. So we want to take that blade off. And you heard me talk in the beginning of the video about that lifter that I have for it. So this whole arm lifts up, but it doesn't stay up. So you want to, that lifter really will help. And like I said, I gotta put it in there. But for now, that's how we do things. And then we tension it up. And away we'll go. All right, gonna do a little sanding, but I just want to show you that you get that paper. The paper comes out a lot easier when you got that painter's tape underneath there. So I'll just keep peeling this before I start doing the sanding, but that does help. All right, folks, I know I would show you the end of the project here. This is the first project that I did on the DeWalt Scroll Saw, the 788 DW788. Folks, in my opinion, if you can scroll 1.5 inch thick oak on a scroll saw, and it did a really nice job. And it was a little bit of a learning experience for me, but to do this as my first project, that saw's a keeper. I tell you what, it did. I tell you what, did a great job. So that's for my grandson Baker. Folks, Tom Horseman at YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, leave a comment, and don't forget to visit Steve Good. This is kind of where I got this design from. I kind of changed it up a little bit, but this is where I kind of got the design from. And you can visit his site. And I showed that a little bit before. But what a nice guy to give us all this information. We're going to continue doing stuff on the scroll saw here. I've got a bunch of mods I want to do. Well, actually one in particular. And then continue doing some projects. Keep on watching, folks. I appreciate it.